Hey guys, what's up? We're back this week with MZG. These two twin brothers hail from Jacksonville, Florida, now are current residents and have been residents of Denver, Colorado for quite some time. I discovered them off their most recent collab with Big Gigantic on their latest album called Energy. What a freaking banger. These guys are known to be multi-genre bending producers and DJs. They have quite a musical background. You get the story, you get to learn it all behind the name, the background, the intentions, and the future of their project. It was great sitting down with Zach and Charles. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Don't forget, you get this only ad-free on my Patreon at www.patreon.com/thisisLizzyJane. We've got one-on-one lessons, vocal packs, sample packs, and much, much more. Go and check out their music. Go and check out the boys. You're going to be seeing them around a lot. They have shows coming up at Rowdytown, at Red Rocks, as well as Hulaween in Suwannee, Florida. And that's about it. Let's tap in with MZG. I hope you guys have a killer rest of your week. The show today was brought to you by Vitaplur E-Boost Gum. With no pill to take or powders to mix, Vitaplur E-Boost Gum is a first-of-its-kind energy rave supplement that provides magnesium, electrolytes, and antioxidants while you chew. Vitaplur is the perfect complement to my active lifestyle, whether it's at the festival, on the road touring, or hitting the gym. Chew Vitaplur and dance with confidence. Use code LizzyJane for 10% off any order. Really? Tampa?
We're from Jacksonville.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I saw the Jacksonville number, and that's where I was like, I didn't even think about it. And you said Zach, I was like, oh, like Jacksonville. Okay, we have a Jacksonville. So, were you guys? How long have you guys lived here?
About 4.5 years now. Pushing on 5. March 29th of next year will be our 5-year.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. I assume you love it just as much as I love it in 4 months.
I mean, yeah. Wait, you've been here for 4 months?
And 4 months, yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. You like it?
We used to play venues in Tampa. You familiar with the Crowbar?
Oh my God, the Crowbar. When I was in a band, I played at Crowbar all the time.
Wait, you were in a band too?
I was in a band too.
I was in a band. So were you?
I was in a jam band.
You're a jam band. Okay. I was in a metal band.
Sick.
A little different.
I love it. No, it's great.
A little different.
It's
but no, the Crowbar was the shit. The Crowbar still has
Tom.
Yes.
The beard.
Yeah, the beard. Well, you have like
Wheeling and Dealing Tom.
Crowbar. You have like the Orpheum.
Ritz is right there.
The
Ritz is where I had a residency for years.
Wow.
So that's where it was Blunts and Blondes, and then it had Dev. That was another artist who took
it. So you know Alex Schambach?
Oh, Schambach.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Like him.
Shout out, Alex.
I met him once.
He's a good guy. He's very hardworking. He came from literally being a fucking candy kid.
Really?
And
didn't we all?
Didn't we? Yeah, did that? Yeah.
I'm in look in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. I feel like that. You were either in the generation.
That's a t-shirt.
That is a t-shirt. You're either a generation that was like the plur kids, candy kids, gone like either still plur kids, candy kids, or you like made it into the industry. And like that's how I look at Schambach. Yeah. Like he literally started at the Ritz when it was the Amp. Before the Amp burned down.
I remember that.
Yeah, huge
That
fire.
was so long ago, too.
So long
2012, maybe?
No. Because I wasn't old enough to go to Amp.
I want to say like 2015, 2016.
Yes, because it was the year I graduated high school, 2015.
Tell you, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, 100%. But they got put in such a, I would say, better music venue where like Amp was like a club. I would say Amp was comparable to how Myth is in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Like very
Myth is like
small. But Ritz is still.
It used to be TSI.
Really? See, that was before
my
time.
Our Jack's
Crunchy. So we actually got started playing together as we used to go by Monozygotic.
Okay.
We rebranded as MZG because what a mouthful of a name.
Yeah, Monozygotic.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We got started playing together at TSI at this event called Crunchy Sunday.
Ooh.
So every Sunday, I know what a choice of a day. It packed out. I'm telling you, every week for a good year. It was slammed. I mean, like line out. Honestly, it was a few years actually. Now I think about it. We first saw E-Prom play there.
Wow.
2011.
E-Prom,
we opened for E-Prom.
Grammatic played.
Dramatic.
Okay.
Like it was honestly bizarre. Like how
who else?
The guy that was
Laser Sword.
Yeah, Laser Sword. I mean. That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
But like Grammatic played, and like our boy Vlad would, just have all these like awesome bookings, and we'd be in Jacksonville, and like it's not like the epicenter of like EDM, like some like oh my god, the place grew up like musically based off of Freebird and like Leonard Skinner, like that's their roots.
Freebird
like,
was it.
Freebird,
that's what put Jax on the map musically.
There's Leonard Skinner, and then there's the Derek and Susan Trucks.
Right.
Those are your apex
Jacksonville
people, and John Wilkes' old band. What is it called? Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
So when they broke up, their drummer was our drummer in a jam band.
No.
Yes.
Way.
Yes.
Okay, so my band.
There's a lot to unpack.
My band, Civil Action.
Yeah.
One of our first shows was opening for Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
No way.
Yeah, at Local 662.
Do you remember John Wilkes?
So wait, did your band?
Not.
Not to change this up. Like, did y'all play a Warped Tour?
So we played the Ernie Ball stage at Warped Tour because we won the competition.
Did y'all win? Did y'all get a bunch of strings and shit?
We way more strings than we ever needed. No pay. All guitar strings. Congratulations. We're like, great. But as a band, I mean, talk about, because you can kind of correlate with this. I think a lot of times, like, the general consumer doesn't realize, like, the expenses you have in an artist. But to be a DJ versus being in a band is like,
it's a 9-day difference.
There's a lot of propulsion being a DJ as a band, because you're bringing together sometimes three people plus.
Yep.
3 men's or women's lives together, and making it work. It's a beautiful thing for it to last as long as it does last. Like look at bands like Fish. The fact that those guys have been touring for 40 plus years or something like that.
Is it 40? Yeah.
I don't want to speak. I don't want to paraphrase, 80s, but it's an insane. It's an insane number for bringing 4 people's lives together and it working out.
Yeah, like String Cheese, like Pepper. We saw Pepper here before they did their 420 show. We saw them at Cervantes.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, we've been doing this for like 30 years.
Shoo.
And to just think about it, because like, I don't know if it was the same in your similar situation, but for me, I was definitely younger than like the band members, and I took it super seriously. I was ready to like not go to college, like not do anything. And then I just looked at them.
You're like speaking from inside.
Yeah, exactly.
We share very similar stories.
I looked at them and I was just like, okay, are you gonna like, are these people really the people that you're gonna put like your life, you're like,
this conversation's hysterical.
Because it's like, it does take, as an artist, you have to have a team to make the hamster wheel spin. You got to have yourself. So you have to have, if you're at a certain point, you should still be knowledgeable about what the other team members do. But if you're going to have a team, you need to have a good manager. You need to have a good agent. Like, you have to work to the point where you get to that point where it is facilitating. But in a band, it's like, it's just
more moving parts.
There's so
many mouths to feed and to listen to.
Yeah,
and I think that's honestly one of the things that kind of struck me as like, maybe this isn't for me, because I really don't like I'm a one track person. Like, once I get the blinders on, I'm like, wait, I know this is gonna work.
I am too.
And everyone would disagree because they wanted their ideas to work, even though I knew their ideas weren't gonna work.
And then you're like throwing the guitar at
and then I'm the young guy being right, and they hate that.
And they hate that. They hate it. How about the young girl being right?
Dude, I can't even imagine the struggle you went through. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, well, because as a young person, you start off so pure and you're just so driven by the music. Meanwhile, you have, I was in a band with like 26, 27-year-old.
Same.
They're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They've been through a lot.
Yeah.
More than I have. So they're a little more like offset. You know what I mean? And like, they've experienced life more. And granted, I appreciate those guys. They've pretty much raised me and my brother as far as like into the party scene and like how to behave and not be an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Love that part of it. You know what I mean? But I mean, they were just they were just
the guidance was limited.
The guidance was limited. They were a little bad. It was a little.
It like reached a threshold. Like, cool, sweet. I don't know how to like. I know how to not have like my head up my ass in a social scenario, but like your musical ideas are not great.
And then
like, you know, like
yeah, no, exactly.
Let's just put it on the table.
I had to leave the band. I ended up writing on the music, and then there was some drama with it, and I was just like, I can't do this. Let's just do me and MZG.
There's always drama, and it's very hard where people do have kids, people do have to move on, people do make life choices. It's hard to have a significant other that fully understands what you're doing and supports it. And especially like, let's say you've been in the band since
you've been multiple people in the band with the same thing.
It's magic when it works out.
Yeah.
I will say, like bands like Fish and Widespread.
They're meant to do it.
Like the fact that it all worked out. Like, and we don't know their internal conflicts, but from the outside looking in, they've been doing it. They've been playing show. They're making it work, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think the main reason why I decided to run with what I was doing, and I'm sure it's probably a bit similar in your case, is the fact that I could make the decisions. If it didn't happen, it was on my shoulders. It was my fault that something wasn't successful.
Right.
And I had the control in my power to be like, okay, we didn't get this gig because this is what happened. We didn't get this release secured because it wasn't due on time. It's not like, hey, Johnny, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we didn't make it on time. You didn't have your shit together. You forgot X, Y, and Z. And now this just cost us money or time or X, Y, all of that stuff.
I was in a 3-piece band that went from a 5-piece band,
Two or three. Yes.
And like it
slowly chipped away.
Like underneath 3, you're more of a live act. 3 people is a band, and anything up past that's band status, right?
Yeah.
We had the least amount of people.
Yes.
And it was still like hellacious at times. I'm talking like pulling my hair out. Like how is this hard? How is it difficult?
Yeah.
Why is it difficult?
Yeah.
And everybody's built differently. And especially when you're in a creative space, you just have a bunch of like jackasses. Just everybody thinks they know what's best.
Oh, 100%.
Everybody thinks that their idea is the idea. And that's why I think it does take a very, I would say, correlative group of people that are very compatible.
And you have to have that conversation though.
Yes.
Like be like, who's doing what? Like, there has to be someone that's like the boss.
Well, the Foo Fighters.
There has to be someone that's like, I'm going to make the final say because we can't all 4 collectively be like all in agreement all the time. You know?
Foo Fighters is a different story. Dave Grohl has what's called empirical evidence. Literal visual numerical proof of his success.
Yeah.
Right? He's just like, hey, I'm the drummer for Nirvana. You might want to listen to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you might want to just listen.
I feel like in a lot of those kind of documentaries or conversations that are like publicly released, you have like one guy that's predominantly writing the music, one guy that's working with a lyricist or writing like lyrics, and then like they kind of all come together and figure it out. But I feel like when you're in an elementary point with a band, everyone's like sitting in 4 corners and like jam session, let's figure this out. I wrote these lyrics, let's do this. Instead of it being like a well-oiled machine, it's like, let's see what sticks on the wall when we throw it over and over and over again.
It was definitely like, it was formative years,
Yes.
And the fact that these people took me on as a young person, eternally grateful for that, because it pushed me into the right path. You know what I mean? Not that this was the wrong path at the time. I thought it was everything. It was everything to me. I turned down college scholarships for this stuff. I was dedicated to music, but things change, and sometimes things change for the better. And at the time, you may not feel like it's like the right thing that's happening, but it is. You have to surrender to the flow.
You do. And I would also say that I take a lot of stuff that I learned from me being in a band and applied it to what I'm doing now.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I don't look at it as a waste of time. I look at it as an experience that I've grown from. And it's also like, I was just coming from teaching a lesson beforehand. The stuff that you learn from playing a musical instrument and writing music and understanding keys and understanding this and understanding music theory and more than just a Camelot wheel, where I don't even know why the fuck that exists. Because
The
why are we
Camelot wheel,
not?
that's so funny you brought that up.
Why are we not like just like going in actual keys? We're going in letters
It's like,
now. I guess.
circle of fifths or circle of fourths if you're into jazz.
You know, it's funny. The Camelot wheel, Charles and I were like, you know, hey, let's actually make our graphic art, like our artwork, based off the color that the Camelot wheel, like our song, where our song is sitting on the Camelot wheel.
Yeah.
Like our song Stingo we did. It was literally greens and blues, and we're like, oh, let's make it some greens and blues.
Yeah.
You know, I guess
Yeah.
what the Camelot wheel
That's
says.
so funny. That's so funny you mentioned the Camelot wheel, because it's like
hilarious.
the amount of DJs that I'm like, how many of them do you think are actually going based off of the actual circle of fifths for the circle of fourths versus the ones that just learned the Camelot wheel, like, oh, it's 4A. No, we're going to 5B. We're going to 3A.
5B.
And that's great until you open a DAW and then you realize they're not numbers; they're actually letters.
Or you're sitting in a studio
So-
session and someone's like, cool, like we're in F minor, and you're like,
4A.
what?
Is that 4A?
Is that 4A?
2A.
Hold on, let me Google it. Real
Well,
quick.
here's the thing. Now that Ableton's made that conversation moot, because like in Ableton, there's the scale mode.
Oh, I know. Ableton 11.
It's really good.
It is really good. It is really good. I mean,
It's so good. To
I
know
will
that
say,
have
I
that.
will say though, I've been producing with the push too, and I miss the piano. There's just something about the piano having like some keys like in front of you, and like being able to like write a melody and then like kind of tap a bass octave with it.
Mhm.
You can't do that on the push. It's all over.
no.
It's really
It's
like
cool.
It's like
It's
you
Tetris-y.
You
Yes.
could, but you have to break down your knowledge of the piano like entirely just to be like, cool, like this is how I do my like.
this guy on YouTube, Jonathan Stein. Familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
So he has a whole masterclass pretty much for free on the push
Really?
and how to actually utilize the push for your advantage to your advantage. And it's really cool. Like I spent a month or so like kind of like just rabbit holing his shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's complex.
Ooh.
It's complex. And I backed out because I was like, man, I kind of just want a piano.
Well, the move up here took, I think, every last dollar of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And when I got up here, I
Same.
had a Nectar MIDI 49 key, and then I had a weighted Roland, and I took them in. You guys have some kick-ass music consignment shops here. First, I'll say that. I took them in, and I got probably like $700-800 worth of pedals. But now I miss my piano.
Yeah.
because like there's something different about, like, you can put an arpeggiator. I assume you guys work in Ableton. You have
Yep.
push.
Yep.
You can put like an ARP on the MIDI. You can do all this creative stuff, but it's different than like you actually sitting down and writing music. If you have a music background. If you don't have a music background, you're like robot land
You're
in Ableton.
programming.
Yeah, you're programming.
You're programming
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
But there's nothing better than just like kind of jamming out on the piano.
Exactly.
And like sometimes you'll just like goof around and be like, "Ooh, I like that idea."
Exactly.
And Ableton
Well, if you have
will capture that for you before you know you're recording. You know that
Mhm.
capture feature
Yes.
where you can just like be jamming, like, "Oh, I like that," and then you click the button and
It's
always recording.
Yeah, it's a ghost recording. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's like to what you're saying, like why the piano resonates so well with productions, because it's like, oh, there's a MIDI piano roll, and you're
Mhm.
like, cool, well, I have the piano right in front of me, so you're literally like the translation is way more like fluid. You're like, oh, from piano to computer
And it's
to
Yes.
and it's classic. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Beethoven wrote his sonatas on the piano. You should be
Oh.
able to write your dubstep on the piano
Absolutely.
too.
Especially if you're just going quarter note F.
Yeah,
F,
yeah, we're talking
F.
we're talking barely any moves in an interval. You know, you're going half step back to the fucking root.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, Porter's a great example where like
His show was so good at Red
so
Rocks.
good. That was my first time at Red Rocks.
What?
That was the day we moved here.
So
Sweet.
Yeah.
there's this nice girl Kaylee on the internet. She runs an advocacy program for the LGBTQ plus community
Okay.
and sexual assault victims in music, and she's really awesome. And I got connected with her somehow, and she literally gave
Through
I
Nappy?
never through Nappy. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Our friend Michael Abernathy, he connected me with her, and she gave us 2 free tickets, or gave me Charles was out of town, gave me 2 free tickets to go see Porter at Red Rocks. And I was
Great
like, I
show.
don't know. Are you sure? I was like, are you sure? She's like, absolutely. I can't make it. Like I had some things come up, and she gave us the tickets, and I took Muzzy Bear. With
Oh,
me,
cool.
And we had a great time, and I'd never seen Porter's show. It was so great.
He's so great.
It was terrific.
He's phenomenal. Well, he's someone that has started DJ,
translated. You remembered Porter's first stuff, right?
Oh my god, Static Snow.
It was like it was like Moonbaton, wasn't it?
Yeah. And to look how that translates back to what I was like, the whole little circle. He said that all of the Nurture songs, he didn't touch his computer for like 2 years, all on the piano. He had like his grandmother's piano or some shit in his garage, wrote everything on piano, and then adapted it to electronic music. And it's like, that's if you have that understanding, not only does it take a huge amount of time, it's just like, I think producers get caught up sometimes in producing for other producers instead of producing for the general consumer and the musicality and the lyricism and the melodies, and not that your snare is tuned to 88.5 kilohertz.
That's 1% of music appreciators is producers. You know what I mean? Everyone else, you gotta
everyone
think
else
about
wants
it too.
to whistle
Not
something.
a lot of exactly. People want to whistle
something.
stuff in the shower.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's all they really have to connect with you, or they want to sing what you're singing.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know that's why vocals connect so well.
Are so important, and that's why especially I know you guys aren't too bass heavy. You guys kind of do a little bit of everything.
We tap in here and there.
We're trying to improve our range this year, or like in the past.
We have a song coming out with a jam band.
That's awesome. That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
That's what more people need to do.
We did a song with Big Gigantic, and then we're doing a song with these guys. Are we never allowed to announce that?
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's a member of a jam.
It's a member of a jam band.
Okay, awesome. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
What would you, from you leaving the band to you, I know you guys are you twins?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Where did MZG really, you guys decided to take this to a serious level, do this full time?
So initially Zach was doing Greenhouse Lounge, that was his band, in high school, and he took me to a festival that they were playing called Trinumeral in 2009.
One of my first shows I've ever played was a music festival.
Yeah.
Crazy. Number 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so basically at the time where I was making short films, editing films, working in software like Final Cut and stuff like that. So I was very aware with workstation software.
Yeah.
And he I went and rode in the car with his steel pan player, if you can believe they had a steel pan player.
We were an electronic jam band
with a steel pan.
With a steel pan was that's cool.
Yeah, I know it was.
It was.
So then to make it short, went to this festival, saw Pretty Lights, Big Gigantic, Too Fresh, all these other kind of DJ acts, and I was like, oh, they're up there with a computer. What is this all about?
Yeah.
And so I dug deep, and I'm I found Ableton, and I obsessed about it because I had worked with audio in Final Cut. And I'm like, oh, this is fun because I learned that the best way to make awesome films is to edit to the music.
Oh yeah.
That synchronicity was really cool to me. And then it all kind of clicked. I'm like, cool, Ableton, I'm going to start producing, or I'm going to start making music, trying this thing out, you know? And it all pretty much based off of the inspiration of just going to a festival with my brother's band.
That's fine.
And so I was it was senior year in high school. We're just about to get out, and I'm thinking of a name, and I'm just what am I all the things you could think of to make sense for your name outside of just saying what your name is.
Yeah.
And so I was I'm an identical twin, so I'm oh, what's the scientific term for identical twins? And I look it up, and it's monozygotic, and I'm I'm going with that. Even though at the time I was not very marketing business savvy, and everyone in the world tells me beyond that point, that's the hardest thing I've ever had to say in my whole life. Why would you ever make that your artist name? Yada yada yada. So we initially I would make production music at from whatever level I was at, and then Zach would come in and he would play some drums, and that we used to perform together. Initially, I played 2010.
I played drums.
Yeah, in 2010, we used to go by Monozygotic with a K at the end.
And we were very inspired because Big Gigantic took us on the road when we were 2011. With my band played a show, and then you played solo.
Yeah, but I mean,
and we were inspired by that.
But so we had done that initially, and we played like 3 or 4 shows, and like we were 19 or 20, like we weren't even of legal drinking age. We had this thing going on, and at the time I was sitting there like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I haven't put enough time into something that I truly believed in. I was like, this could work. Like me and him together playing music could work. Like just by, just like this, I don't know, it being it. So like I said to myself, I need to hold off on like pursuing this, and I need to get more experience. Like I need to get my feet wet in this industry that I have no idea about. Mm-hmm. And so I basically told him, I'm like, I'm just gonna like do a name change and just do some solo stuff. You do your thing with Greenhouse Lounge, and let's just like get some experience under our belts before we just like take this name and just run roughshod over it with our 20-year-old selves.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, 100%.
And like, so then I went by Sir Charles for a good bit, and Zach was doing Greenhouse Lounge, and that pretty much like kept going. Like I joined a management company, and I had a few shows in California. I played out here in Colorado. I played at Cervantes and the State Theater and Mishawaka Amphitheater. So I definitely got like around, but it got to a point around like 2015, 2016 where like, it's not like I was plateauing, but I felt like the initial like, hey, remember that thing you said you were going to do back then? Like, hey, we're going to do this together. It's starting to kind of like come to a fruition for me. So I was like, okay, I feel like I need to take a step back from Sir Charles and start like focusing back on Monozygotic.
Yeah.
And at the time, like Zach's band just was starting to dissolve. By the third or fourth drummer they had, it was just like, okay, maybe the writing's on the wall and it needs to stop. So like it got to that point. I think it was at Hulaween 2015. Zach and I like looked at each other.
Good old Suwannee.
Yeah, good old Suwannee. Yeah. So we looked at each other and we're like, I think it's time now that we do this. Like
we had some experience under our belt,
and then we like got a couple of shows. And our first show that we did as like Monozygotic, like after the like what we had just gone through, was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
This is a funny story. This is how MZG started.
It's all playing into it.
It's all playing into it.
I'm threading the needle here. So like, so basically, we go and we play a show at this venue. I forget the name in Myrtle Beach, but there's this guy named Cisco Adler. You know him?
No.
So Cisco
He's the guitarist for Swayze.
Okay.
So he was doing a show with like
he was headlining.
He was a fraternity party.
He was headlining.
That's what Myrtle Beach is.
Monozygotic was Monozygotic was playing after.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he after he finished performing outside, we were supposed to entertain everyone inside at the bar, right?
Got it.
And he was like, he's like, outside. We were right there. He was like, everyone give it up. We're going to go party with Monozygotic avocado.
He said guacamole.
No, he said Monozygotic avocado.
Yeah, okay.
And Charles and I are like...
He botched the name.
And then he comes in because there's a couple people opening up for us.
Yeah.
You know? And he comes in and he's like, boys, he's like, we need to have a talk.
He's like, I don't know who you are.
He's like, I don't really know you
Like,
guys. I don't really know you guys, but we need to rebrand. And I'm like, okay. Charles and I were like, like this guy's, he's renowned, he's got really, he's got some really like fire records. Sure. He's plugged. So we're like, Charles and I guess we'll just listen to him, what I mean?
Entertain this stranger.
And so he's like, here, we're going to do a little social experiment. And he's like, he's looking at our name. He's like, what if you guys just go by MZG?
Well, that's the thing. Like he looked at us like, what do you want to call yourself? And we I ran through a few things and I was like, at like acronyms. I'm like, well, I don't want to go by like MZK or MZT. And I was like, what about MZG? And he's just like, we're sitting under like one of those like fluorescent, like, above the ceiling, like lamps. It's like in a dentist's office. He's like, there it is. We've illuminated the situation. We're under the light. Here it is. MZG. We're calling it that. And he's like, we're going to do a science experiment.
A social experiment.
And so he grabs like one of these like fan frat kids from the crowd, brings him in the green room, and he's like, hey, what's up? Like, yada. I want to introduce you to my friends Monozygotic. And they were just like, huh? Mono's like, what? Like didn't even punt, hit it. And then he was like, okay, cool. Like, we got this, like, the kid, like, eventually, like, transitioned out. Then he brought somebody else in. He was like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm glad you enjoyed the show, yada, yada, yada. These are my boys, MZG. And they're like, oh, sick, MZG. Like, how can I find you? How can I look you up?
What's that stand for?
It was like an immediate, like, I'm questioning what you are. I like what I just heard. I want to know more.
And then we told them that it stands for monozygotic, and what that means. They're like, that's so sick.
So it kind of like made sense. Like the layers like fit. The puzzle pieces came together 100%. At that point. And so that was our first show as MZG. And beyond that point, I hit up one of our best friends, Joey. His father's a lawyer. He's been like our family lawyer. I hit him up. I'm like, I need to get an LLC started. MZG LLC in Florida. We need to make this happen.
And we got the trademark for MZG.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like we couldn't have been more like, let's make this happen. And so like that's like when MZG started. And from that point forward, we dubbed ourselves MZG.
And our I'd say our first like solid MZG set as DJs, because we used to do a live thing where Charles would play keys, I played guitar, and we'd have like beats going and stuff like that. We played at Okeechobee Music Festival in 2017.
Oh wow!
And we didn't have enough. There wasn't enough bandwidth for them to allow us to do our live thing. So they said, "Can you do a DJ set?" And we're like, "Absolutely." And our DJ sets went They went off and way better than our live shit. And we're like, "All right, let's make the change." So that's when we actually did the CDJ switch.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you guys ever have like an intention in bringing back?
Sure.
I mean, I'd say like. Yes. Short answer.
But I'm telling you, the energy that we felt and like the evidence that was provided for us based off the fans' response versus our live set, it was just like, it was hype.
I think like the way we've even like been doing it by like holding off and like doing something now and then like bringing something like another element in later. I think the live thing can be brought back into the mix once things are like really like hitting the ground floor.
Well,
and,
it gives people something to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. Well. Like kind of like treating it more like a special thing or something to look forward to in the future, and like utilizing the DJ like aspect as something that's like, it's like an affordable approach for two people. There's not like, we're not bringing a bunch of gear with us.
CDJs are typically at the venue you're playing. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to bring a USB stick.
Don't take a gig if there's not CDJs.
Oh, and honestly, like
we can DJ on pretty much anything.
But like honestly, like not even to knock CDJs or like the DJ aspect, like it's been a lot of fun like figuring out how to like come into our own and find that like optimal space for us to feel like confident DJs and like
it takes time.
Make the right playlist, dig for the music. Like it's more than just like going up there and pressing buttons, being like 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. Like it's really like a huge like an aesthetic and like living your life, listening to music, finding different artists, seeing what they listen to, and like this it's just like awesome rabbit hole of finding music and art in that way so that you can go and share it in a DJ set. And it's like there are definitely there's like an air of purity where it's like, oh, you don't play instruments, oh okay, like I have to like this is like a passe thing, but it's like little do they know we can definitely play instruments and there's like something coming, like something in the future for that. But ultimately it's been a lot of fun just to like utilize MZG as like a DJ act and like getting immersed in that culture.
Absolutely.
Because it really is just as much of a thing as it is live music and performance and stuff. In my personal opinion. I just don't want to be a hater on any kind of. I don't want to hate. I never want to be.
There's a piece of the jam band world that I've heard and I've kind of like felt where they just think like, oh yeah, DJing, easy stuff. My goodness, they are so incorrect. I get that energy from them. I'm like, dude, this is. Making a playlist that's gonna pop.
Well, it's
how much I don't know. You know how much pressure.
But I mean, we have we really kind of like trolled the jam scene because like we initially were like playing keys. Zach was playing guitar, and then we did a show where we played with the drummer from the Disco Biscuits.
Oh, okay.
And so like a lot of these jam kids were like ready for like this live act to be a thing, and we kind of like switched it on a little bit. So like. But it was like another one of those things. I almost feel like history repeating itself, where we were like, "Oh, cool, we're doing this," but we really like haven't like practiced a lot and done a lot of like real work to like make this like a really optimal experience. So we need to like pull it back, do something different, and like wait for like the right time for that for that to snap?
It's so much trial and error.
Yeah.
And I think especially if you're in electronic space, if you're going to incorporate live elements, it has to be an optimal experience.
Straight up, you have to be shredding.
Yeah, like it
I'm
has
talking.
to be
You
optimized.
better
it's
be
not like
killing
we
it.
weren't good, but it's like it could be better. And Zach and I were just not we're playing with the fucking Allen coin from the Disco Biscuits. Like a lot of jam kids like hold him in such a high regard, and I'm sitting here. I'm like, well, I'm not able to really like solo over this stuff if it's like that time. He's not able to like really like shine in this moment. So it's like we need to really like reel it back, like realize like, okay, we got something good going. Let's put some time into it. Find like what our sound really is going to be. And then like in the future when like things are really like, they're heard and there's an audience, like a true audience that has been listening to us forever, then it's like this special banging thing that we can really make shine.
To bring the live elements back in.
I just want to do it justice.
Yeah.
By giving it the time.
Yes. And it's important to give time, especially if you're looking to have a long shelf life as an artist. Because there are different, there are DJs who have a goal of having a shelf life of 3 years. And then there's some artists that have a goal of having a shelf life of 1 to 2 decades and growing and evolving. And you always want to see an act evolve. And I think adding live elements is a great way to evolve that act. From my personal experience, I have always been, obviously from like the band days, I've always sung over my music. Like since I was a DJ, when I had the residency, wasn't singing, they didn't fucking give a shit, whatever. Now when I've been like touring and stuff, I've got the in-ear monitor system, and it really depends on the event that I'm at, where I have to make like a consecutive decision where it's like, hey, are you going to hold this super high energy set where people are just kind of losing their shit, closing their eyes, listening to the music? Or do you want it to be more so a performative art where you have to be okay with the lower energy levels, but people are watching you? And I think that's a huge thing that I had a hard problem wrapping my mind around, because I would be the only one singing on, let's say, a 4 or 5 act show, wherever venue you're at. And it's kind of a mind fuck when you go up there and you're like, that energy from the crowd was substantially lower. But then, I had a fan come up to me or, an attendee, and it's like, everybody's watching you because you're doing a performative act instead of just DJing.
Right.
And the DJing sets are the most high energy, high experience points ever. Right. And I think it's also to understand that like I have such a respect for just DJs, because as people in our space, you have to be good at producing, which takes a very long time, and it's a very hard craft to master before you even start trying to find your sound, deciding if you're going to be versatile.
Engineering and music combined.
You can't touch it either. It's not tangible. It's just all this invisible stuff that we're listening to.
Yeah.
It's I think that's the biggest challenge.
It's the biggest challenge. Yeah. And then in addition to that, as a producer, you have to be a good DJ if you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Unless you just want to play only your shit.
Unless you want to play only your shit, but honestly, nobody fucking wants that. They can go on your Spotify.
And that too. But like, to that point, I know some people who are doing 100% all original sets,
which I think is awesome,
and I really think that's cool. However, the culture of DJing
is that DJing though?
Is that are you the disc jockey? Are you like, I know what the crowd wants?
It's more like a showcase,
correct?
And
exactly.
I feel like in that space, the biggest, I would say, subgenre. The biggest subgenre.
You're showcase Jay.
It's like
you're show Jay.
Deep dub, like a lot of the stuff that pops off here. I would say like Wakan, kind of everything. Charles the First Wise.
Gonna refill.
Refill.
Yeah.
I'm good. I've taken like a sip and a half.
Okay.
And but like in that space where it's mostly beats, I think a lot of people can get by doing all original content.
Yeah.
Where people are really just there for that like low end vibes, all of that stuff. But if you're doing something on a national touring circuit, or even if you're supporting someone like Big G, X, Y, and Z, having the mix is what I've seen to be most successful.
Oh, 100%.
Well, it's also like you have to look at it as, do you want to be this like individual that's strictly just like putting off your signal? Or if you're like a DJ, you're also taking in other signals. You're this like cell tower of like signals of being like, cool, like here's my stuff. here's this my one of my best friend's stuff. Here's like this person I have no idea whose stuff it is, but like I found them on Spotify and they're great and you guys need to hear it. Like you're like
you're
curating and treating it as this like
you're like air traffic control.
You're this
you know what I mean? You're letting certain things happen.
You're like this all encompassing like being up there, just like sharing and like showing people like what they would want to hear instead of just like what they're expecting.
Yes.
And like that's where I think like an aesthetic of DJing really like sets itself apart. Because it's like, yes, I know it's like there might be some other people's music I'm playing, but like the way that like you've mixed it and like even if it's like, you know, in a key to where it's like, you know, shifting in like the circle of fifths or circle of fourths, like you're mixing harmonically other people's stuff mixed with yours. And like, yeah, you can keep the percentage high where it's like, oh yeah, like 60% my stuff and then 40% other people's stuff.
But nobody cares. Does anybody in the audience really care?
Nobody knows. This is back to that 1%.
Yeah. Always the loudest.
This is back to those loud people who are like this niche like, population of people like, how many of your songs did you play?
The niche haters that want to like, you know, sit there and, you know, but that's also another thing where I always feel like when there's people that are like, this is 100% all original, like, okay, so what are you just putting down the entire DJ community as a whole right now?
It's you know, it's a
flex.
It's a flex, and it's a flex, and it's kind of passive aggressive.
It is.
It is.
Like, I don't know what
it is. But to each their own.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah. I just think that we get so wrapped up because like this shit is literally our lives that we don't realize how many people literally don't give a shit and just want to have a good time.
See, but
and it's, you know,
if you're asked to play at a bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like say Charles and I were asked to play at a bar with, you know, all sorts of like people we wouldn't necessarily associate ourselves with.
See, I couldn't say yes to that.
See, we could.
I would do terrible.
We could because we have the crates for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's DJing.
Yeah.
Could we do a wedding? We got the crates for it.
Mm-hmm.
Could you know? Can you
not
you
saying
make?
We would, but
not
like,
saying we would.
But that's
we
your
can.
skill set.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you know, there's that like, you know, that point where you're just like, can you play this party? No, I can't because I only have my.
Because I'm just all original dude.
I'm just all consuming.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So like,
you know what I mean? And so like, but like some people like what we're talking about, the 1% of people who are just like, is this all your stuff? A lot of people, the 99% of those people are like, I just want to party and have a couple drinks.
Yes.
And dance.
And listen to
Can you
something
make
good.
me do that?
Yeah.
I think the best DJ is like not giving them what they want to hear, but what like you know they need to hear,
like,
and
exactly.
it's like
Not what they
putting them
expect
on
to
to
hear.
like new shit.
Yeah.
But that's the best thing about DJ.
But that's how culture was developed too. You know what I mean? Like that's how these parties were started. It's just a bunch of people getting together, making a bunch of music and playing each other's stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everyone's like, "What's this track?" It's like, "Oh, this is my friend's track." Like you'd love them. You know, that's the exposure. That's where that's where things start to evolve and sort of like spread. You know,
Absolutely.
Overall, no shade to the 100% all
no
original
shade,
cats.
no shade,
No shade. But to sit there and say that you're like a DJ is you're kind of like misusing the word.
You're DJing your stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because I feel like there is this crossover. Like I do use like Porter as an example now, where like his sets didn't used to be all his, but now that he's like kind of stepped into this live space, kind of like Maddie on as well,
It's a live
where
act.
it's a live act.
Yeah.
And he may throw one or two other people's songs in there, but it's like the
A collab or
majority is
something,
like your stuff. But again, he's worked over a decade to get to a point where it's
Right.
like everybody knows every single song off the album. They're here to see you.
It's very subjective too.
Yes.
You know, like some people go to see DJs because they're like, oh, I can't wait to hear something I've never heard before.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Ooh.
Hi, Kyle. Bing, bing, bing.
My man.
Special delivery. Thank you, Kyle.
Cheers.
But yeah, that's like
Refill?
yeah. So overall, like taking a step back and being like MZG, the DJ set has like really like given us a lot of time to open our minds, our hearts, and our ears to like all these influences to so that like when it is time to go back to our live set, like we know what we're doing.
You take
what
from
we
everything.
want. We
Yeah.
took from everything. We ingested the culture, and if like now like exhausted this new like invented thing that is MZG. Like with the experience, like we just like really, at least like for me, like I've always wanted to actually give things time, because you can rush and be this flash pan thing, and then like you're here today and gone tomorrow because you didn't want to take the time to be like, okay, like my ultimate desire is to be this like, the person on stage is like up arms in the air and everyone loves me, but like that's this like insane desire that would like just cloud the actual vision. So like taking a step back and giving things time, I feel like ultimately doesn't make you that flash pan thing. It sets you up to actually have like a longer existence in music.
We've all seen people throughout the duration of our time doing this who have gone way up and come down as quickly as
good
they
old
went up.
fashioned pump and dump.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can look at crypto charts; they're real similar.
Real
man.
similar.
This brand new.
You want to be an ETF. You want to just like slow, little, gradual up.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
up.
Either way, not to even make it like a chart thing, but like it's just
But
it's just
it
a
is, and it's
comparison.
like, and it's
Yeah.
hard too as a mentality as an artist when you like see somebody where you're like, wait, why the fuck is this happening right now? And then like you start to understand the back end of just everybody's on their own path. And as soon as you can like stop comparing yourself to X, Y,
That was the
Z.
biggest. That was the
Yeah.
biggest step for us. I was
Yeah.
like, we're just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we love tech house. We love bass music. We love
Live music.
live music. We love jam bands. Like we have
Just music in general. Like,
There's so
yeah.
much that goes into like what we do genre wise.
Mhm.
And it's hard. Like we're, like, should we rebrand and have a different project? It's like, no, let's just make it all MZG and have little identities.
Yeah.
Like little projects that we do underneath the MZG like
Moniker.
network.
You know what I mean? It's like,
so.
we're so deeply in tuned with just records.
Mhm.
Like we just like I listen to so much different stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like there's such a difference between making like, especially in like EDM, making like track and making there's
so right about
you
that.
can make like a banger and be like, okay, this is fucking banger, and then you can like sit down with vocalists, sit down with songwriters, sit down with collaborative
I was
artists, make
having this
records.
conversation with GRIZ. Like we were talking about like what like music you got coming up, yada yada yada, and we were like kind of differentiating the difference between. There's just like songs that are made just to be like energetic and fun and like
Yes.
hyper, and like you would never play this at a dinner party or,
No.
or like sitting down to eat or like waking up to like take a like what I'm saying, like take a shower or anything like that. There's like those things as a DJ where you're just like, cool, like I want to make a track specifically to like get these moments to like really build energy. And then there's like times you're in the studio like I'm making a song and like this is not something that I would necessarily just DJ like right off the cuff and like put in a set. It's just like you're making a record.
That song that we're doing with that band,
Yeah,
it's a record.
it's a record. Yeah,
And it took us months to like, of recording, layering, engineering.
whole
It's
different
like,
process.
Just like, we want it to be something memorable.
yes,
It's so
And it
funny
takes
that you
time.
brought that up though.
Yeah.
It really is. Like I like that you brought that up because there really is like there's like differences. There's like DJ tools and songs.
and I personally like would get really down on myself because I'd be like, oh, I want every song to be like all that it can be. You
Right,
want it to be
yeah.
like, I want this to be
100%.
perfect. And I'm in a kind of like not rut, but I've been like working on like writing like records, like taking 2-3 months, really going through it, going and backtracking, doing the harmonies, doing the acapellas, doing X, Y, and Z. And then I'm like putting together sets for the festival. So it's like, oh my God, I gotta make some like bangers.
See, like,
I gotta fucking
and
make
those
songs
bangers
for
will like
stuff.
grab their attention. Then
Yeah.
like in the lower dynamic parts of your set, then you can actually sit there and sing, show your artistry.
Yep.
And it's like you're sandwiching the like the
Sandwiching.
bangers in between the art so that you can grab their attention and like show them what you're really about.
No, exactly. And it's,
People like range.
yeah.
People do like range.
Even
People do
though
like
they don't
range.
know it. They
They do
it.
like it.
Some
Well,
people know.
I feel like we're coming on a point too where being a multi-genre faceted artist is starting to be a bit more accepted than
Straight
it
up.
used to be. And I sat down with Nitty Gritty a few months ago and
Love
he was like,
Ricky.
love him.
Yeah,
He's great. He's a great example. He was always from like
Ricky
me coming
is
from
the
Florida.
boy.
You guys, okay, so you guys
Love
know.
Ricky.
Okay, so he was like the one who I looked at and said, okay, this journey may take longer, but he's doing everything he wants to do, and he's fucking killing it.
Yeah, see, that's where Charles and I were at. We're like, I don't want to fall under a tent pole.
No.
I want, like, even in my own soul, like.
And we were advised. There's like a few times we were advised, like, oh, you need to like stick to one sound. Like,
and we're just
that's
like,
in
my,
I was too.
and I'm telling you, in my, that's literally, we were, you know, we had the same experience, dude. And like, all love to them, but like, we just had to, I was like, I in my soul, when I was told that I can't make house music anymore, it hurt. Yeah. You know? I was like, dude, like, but this is what I love.
Like, we can't,
like GRIZ does all types of music. Big G does all types of music. You look at top A tier acts, and they're doing whatever they want, but they're staying in the confines of like,
their brand.
You just have to have, I think people, you got to know when you're not the best person to make a certain decision.
Oh,
and that's why you have the right people in your corner to advise.
Yep.
You know, and
make sure, we've learned it's having fun people in your corner, and not so like there's obviously times to be serious. I'm not gonna knock the seriousness, because you need some seriousness. But having fun loving, energetic people in your corner that are just like, do it.
Yeah.
That is everything I feel like an artist could ever ask for in a manager.
Yes.
You know, because those people are influences, you know? Sometimes you're caught and you're just like, I don't know what to do. And those are the people you rely on. They're like, hey, let's get you back on track.
Yes.
And, you know, you have people that are just, you know, so blinded sometimes that are just like, oh, we need to do this one thing. And that's fine, I guess, depending on the person you are. But we're just so free form as artists. Like, we just love.
We always have been.
I play acoustic jazz music by myself. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
great. I mean, I never thought I'd have a fucking podcast. Like, I started this shit in COVID. It's kind of like, I feel like when you start out as an artist, you have such a clear vision of how everything's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And this is how this is going to go down.
And some of the best music you'll ever make in your life is when you first start.
Yes.
In my opinion.
It's so crazy.
It's weird how that is.
I was going through my hard drive the other day because exactly what I was just saying. I have some festival sets coming up. I'm like, yo, I need to play some of my music, but right now my music is all over the fucking place. And like, I can't fucking fit it into my set, and I'm not going to fucking try. So right now, take these acapellas. Let's make some like bangers out of them. And I went back to music that I was writing in like 3-4 years ago. And like, granted, I had a lot of no idea what I was doing. However, the ideas were there.
The intent.
And I was like, honestly, clean this up. This is fire.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something so beautiful about the whole like not being as self-aware as you are further down the line. Like when you're first starting out and it's like the energy of just being like, I'm so happy to be here. These are my ideas. You haven't even like gotten to that. You haven't even gotten to that
star.
You haven't gotten to that point where like you haven't gotten jaded yet, you know, to the point where you have to like take a step back, reel it in, whatever. But like there really is something magical about like the lack of self-awareness you have as like a beginning artist.
Just to make, just to like, create.
Even down to like sample selection, right? As a mature artist now, like, you know, like doing it for a while.
Virtual right snare,
like,
Keizo
you have an ear. You have an ear for what's mixed well as far as one shots go, samples, right?
Yeah.
When I first started, I had no idea about any of that. I was just like, oh, is this a kick? It'll work. You know? It says kick. Okay, cool.
I need a 3, 2, 1 go sample.
But my, you know, because my mind wasn't so hyper focused on the, you know, the like oral nuances. The oral nuances.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
you're just creating
the timbre.
Yeah.
Of the sample. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this says kick? Cool. I'll just put it in the song. And I made the song with more of my like, you know, actual like love and like intention.
Because you're just excited to be doing it.
I was just like so excited to be doing it. I was like, I got this idea, boom, boom, boom. And like I put it down. Track didn't take off, or like, you know, the song never got made, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Did the same thing you did, went back in my hard drives. And then I was like, wait, this is a great tune. I just need to change the sample.
Yeah.
And I changed the sample, and then it became one of our like most poppin' songs on SoundCloud.
I just can't have everything sitting at like plus 10 dB, all just like playing at once with no EQ. And
so because it's funny, you have to like channel, you have to like.
But it's like that shit's not fun.
You have to tap back into like that initial excitement.
To switch that conversation though, like I used to be so afraid of clipping, and now I'm like not. Because I know how to use it, right?
Exactly.
Every time Ableton would turn red, I just turn it down like a ding dong. you don't need to do that, you know, and like not to switch the not to switch the
for Ableton being 32-bit floating point.
But when you're young, you don't get that.
No.
You know, like I wanted my kick to go past 0 sometimes. You know, like sometimes your kick sample needs to go past that because that's what your ears are telling you.
Yeah.
But you're like, ooh, red, bad. No, thank you. It's one thing I'd like Ableton to do. Switch it up a little bit. Like it's green, it's this beautiful green color,
make it
and then
purple.
all of a sudden it's just red.
Why don't we make it a rainbow?
Or why don't we just do it in stages? Like until it's actually distorting, where it's like cracking, does it turn red?
Yeah.
Make it go yellow and then orange and then like red.
Blue and then purple.
I don't know.
Then red. When you're on like 50 dB.
It's very, you know, like, you know, you go from green to red, and as a young producer, you're like, ooh, that must be bad, right? And I would just turn it down.
I'm trained by this traffic lights.
I'm trained by the traffic lights. Stop. Stop what you're doing right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think what I tell my students all the time, mostly I teach like bass music.
That's awesome.
Is to learn the rules is important so you can break them.
Yeah.
And I say that because I'm like, you know,
big fact.
Using your ears when they're not super tired and fatigued, in combination with understanding some of the rules, in combination with understanding that every Subtronic song is hitting at like plus 30.
And
we'll get you to where you want to go.
And the GRIZ-tronics tune.
I can't imagine.
I used the Yulin loudspeaker.
Yeah, that's.
And I monitored their true peaks, 3.5 dB above true peak, and it's a hit.
Yeah,
and like that's where it's like you don't have to pay such close attention to all of these like fine
knowing
details.
them makes you able to like.
A lot
slightly break those rules, like slightly, like, you know.
Yeah, be like, okay, I understand if I can
we'll go
take a little bit away here.
Little above what we need.
But it all falls back to trusting your ears too.
Yes,
and also contrast. Artwork, like artwork, in whether it's like you know, visual or like oral.
Mm-hmm.
Contrast is everything. Like if everything is at 0 dB, nothing's loud.
It's the dynamic range,
right? You know what I mean? Like if everything's has a stereo imager on it, nothing's wide. Choosing things to be loud or to be wide and then contrasting the other elements underneath it or like centering it underneath like, the wide elements. That's what makes a mix awesome, in my opinion.
I think the biggest thing for me was learning that less is more.
Oh, of course.
Like I would always be like, oh no, like it's gotta be epic here.
Oh,
this has gotta add here, and I gotta have this here.
If it's not adding anything to the song, delete it.
Yeah. I always say if I can't hear it, why the fuck is it there? Like,
and the fact that like more is less. Like you have like all this like shit going on. Sometimes you're not even like getting to the actual point or the idea of the track.
The motif, embellish the motif.
Yeah, exactly.
Add some good lyrics.
So a friend of ours, Herobust.
Yeah.
He set up this Venn diagram.
From Atlanta, right?
Yeah. He set up this Venn diagram that was excellent. It was, it was 4 circles, right? And
it's a super diagram.
the first circle was vocal, right? Having a vocal in a track.
Yeah.
Right. The second one was cadence, having something sort of familiar, right?
Yeah.
Like something you can whistle, right? The third circle was shock value and theme, having something that just like grabs the listener, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, what a cool concept, right? And the fourth circle was engineering, superior engineering. So if you can combine those 4 elements together, in the center is Skrillex.
That's the clip.
No, and I'm serious. Like, this is not any joke. I literally saved a screen. He did it was during 2020.
Okay.
And he did a
little masterclass.
Yeah, he did. Well, he did a little masterclass with Prototype.
Oh,
and he was like, "All right, guys, I got a Venn diagram for y'all." And he literally, I'm telling you, I have the screenshot because, like, I saw that and I was like, "This is brilliant."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like what, like, if I'm trying to make a smacker, like a hit, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that it hits all 4 of these corners.
I'm like hearing like dance. Oh my God.
Well, because look at Herobust. Like, dude, he is really an unspoken king of the industry.
He's really,
Like, he has made so many good songs.
Like, yeah.
Like,
bangers.
All with like great motifs,
like work, like so many vocals, shock
cadence.
value. It's just like everything. He really is like,
he listens to his own Venn diagram. He hears that Venn diagram.
Wow.
I love it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So when you guys decided, okay, like we're taking a step back, we're gonna do DJing, we're gonna add the live elements later. Is there a genre you wanted to focus on, or are you guys just like, I want to make music?
We really like hip hop and like trap and stuff.
Well, I can hear that moomba tone.
Hip hop and house is like really
hip hop and house is where we're
going to be focused.
And when we were making the track with Dom,
yes, that's what I wanted to focus on.
You know, it was really cool. Like we went into the session and had no one had we had no demos. No one had anything. I think I had a demo. We were just like,
that's the best though.
And it was a blank canvas. And then we started it and we found some stuff, you know, on Splice Town. Love Splice. We found some.
App So Nice, they named it Splice.
The App So Nice, they named it Splice.
You guys just need to make shirts. Like all of the shirts will be your merch. Just have it, and then like in the bottom corner, just be like MZG.
Yeah. We have so many little sayings like when in doubt, reverb out. If you're mixing. Anyway, so we were, you know, we had this whole blank canvas thing going on, and then our friends, Kyral Banko, you familiar with these guys?
Yeah.
So we made a song with them called Bullin', and they had us over. They hit us up on Instagram to make the song. This is 2018.
Okay.
And they, you know, brought us over, and they made us do this thing that I had never done in producing before when we're collaborating. It's called the round robin. Every producer in the room gets 15 minutes in the hot seat, and you rotate.
It's so great.
And it's really such a productive.
You got like 6 ding dongs in the room. One guy's like sitting there like.
It makes me like start sweating though, because I'm kind of like, wow, I feel like I'm under pressure to like make something great.
But now here's pressure is like what breaks.
But here's the thing: when it's not your turn, you're sitting there. What am I doing next? And what am I going to do right when I sit down? You know what I mean? And like, so you get to formulate your plot. And you get to formulate your implementation of what you want to do in the track as someone else is working. You're like, what? It becomes a flow, you know.
Yeah.
And so to bring it full circle, we went in the studio with Dom. We're like, hey, we should try this round robin technique. He's like, what round robin? What do you mean? I'm like, we just set timer like 15 minutes. You hit the seat, I hit the seat, Charles hits the seat, and he was like, okay. And then like he started really liking it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like. Every session
like made energy like
that's how energy was made, and you could tell Dom, like every time I would get in the hot seat, Charles and Dom would get ideas, and they're like they'd tell me to do stuff sometimes too, which is fine, like as long as there's one captain.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's not.
No, it's great, and like 5 hours will fly.
Oh yeah, and it flew by really fast, and that's like honestly
4 times 15 minutes. That's like an hour.
And Colin and Ben from KXB taught us that. And we brought it to the table with Dom, and he was like, this is amazing. And we're like, we've been doing it with all of our collaborators as of recently, and they love it.
Yeah. No, it's a great idea to start with when you have like nothing.
And like,
and it's just good to not put the like all the weight or the pressure onto one person, and like one person gets locked in, and then you just have like 2 dudes like hovering over you like the entire time.
That's where you see the salty Twitter comments.
But
made the whole thing.
and believe it or not, we released our song Bullin' with Colin and Ben on a Moobatone label. You familiar with Gesture from Los Angeles? JSTR.
Okay, yeah. I was literally looking at his label yesterday, which is Group Chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Coming up in the world.
We released love Group Chat.
Yeah,
they're great peeps. We released that song Bullin' with Colin and Ben through Group Chat. And you know,
funny history about Group Chat too. I like Ivar the AR for Group Chat. When I was doing Sir Charles stuff, me and him had a couple collaborations on Cannibal and Black Tire
love
Sex
them.
Machine.
I've had some releases with them.
Yeah. And like, so like fast forward to like Bullin' and stuff like that, we're thinking about labels, and we're like, oh, like I know Ivar was saying he's like working with this label Group Chat. Like hit him up, like send him the demo, and they were like, we want this, and we're like,
and it wasn't really Moomba.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's a couple artists on the label that don't do Moomba either. That's electronic music, but they just love the groove a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's where Charles...
Good music's good music.
Well, that's where Charles and I's like, I feel like our strong suit is focused is groove and making sure that things you can dance to it. You know, that's where our strong suit is. So we released that song with them, and then we were in the studio with Dom, and all of a sudden, I swear, this track just came to be a Moomba song. And when we put it out,
it's got a definite Moomba vibe.
Yeah.
Because I listened to you guys. I had seen your project a numerous amount of places, but I hadn't really like dug into the discography until the collab. And I was listening, I was like, this is Moomba, this is really cool. And then I listened, I was like, they're not Moomba.
Not at all.
Yeah.
we're not Moomba at all. And like that, I think that's the sort of our ability to show our range.
Mhm.
It's like we can make all sorts of music. And what's really cool too is like in that song, we did a halftime hip hop drop.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Second drop,
it was the second drop of the tune. We actually dropped
It really
into
slows down,
101 is the BPM. We did 101 BPM hip hop drop.
So that was like
Where Dom plays 50, a bunch of like very like
55.
Yeah, it's like 55 BPM, 55 and a half. BPM like in hip hop.
Because it's like the
yeah. And we got inspired by this producer. His name's Rascal from Germany, and he had a tune where he did this halftime sort of like hip hop stuff with a sax, and I was like, "Yo, Dom, we can make stuff like this." And I showed him the song. He's like, "Oh, I got this." And it was cool because we wanted to not just make a Moomba tune. We wanted it to have some shock value there. Mm-hmm. Back to the Venn diagram.
Oh my God.
We want to add a little shock value.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And have you guys known the Big G guys for like a while since we moved here?
God.
Yeah.
I don't want to date ourselves, but 2010.
2010 here goes. We've been around.
We've been around.
Yeah.
No,
2010.
That's awesome. I mean, it was a great album. I felt like they're just an act that's very versatile. I feel like that's not just a Denver thing, but I feel like every act I know here that lives here really has a good range of what they do.
GRIZ and Big Gigantic being two the ones that I would say.
Oh my God, when I moved here, I knew some acts lived here, but I didn't really know how many acts lived here.
And since COVID, even more.
Oh, everybody wants to move here.
Everyone was like, I don't know if I'm feeling LA anymore.
This is going to be it.
I know.
You know Good Times Ahead?
Yeah.
So Matt from Good Times Ahead, he lives here.
Really?
Yeah.
Every time I podcast, I learn about one new person. One new person.
We actually at Big Dub this past weekend, we hung out with this guy named Hayes.
Hayes, Hayz.
Hayez.
Oh, he's on Wasserman.
Dead Beats.
Yeah, I met him when he was here. Yeah.
He's on Berkowitz.
He's literally moving down the street.
He's moving down the street from us.
He's moving.
I know, right?
Because he was talking about
exodus.
it. Because 1788 just moved here.
Yep.
GRX just moved here. Mitchell.
Wait, 1788, sir?
Yeah, he's here now.
Funny story about him. We were at E Forest.
Okay.
So Big G brought us out to E Forest to perform. Energy.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, this year.
Oh, fun.
To perform Energy with them and stuff.
God, that was my first festival ever. Everybody said I ruined it for myself.
And so our friend Ryan Hug, who's actually a manager here. Ryan Hug, who's a manager here. He was he had like kind of control over the Good Life stage, the VIP stage.
Okay. That's the overhang, and they have the inside.
Oh my God! Yeah, so the
like
VIP
one part of an opera.
The VIP stage was VIP stage was like super popping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan's like, "Yo, I can get you guys a set Thursday. It's gonna be great." And so we played our hour and a half, and it was popping off. Like, and they don't tell you who's playing, right?
Yeah.
So it was Charles and I literally just we might as well have been auditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we packed this damn near auditorium out. It was so big.
Like if you've seen the Sydney Opera House, it looks like one section
of the Sydney Opera House.
Every year it gets like a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it does. So the stage manager was like, "Hey, 10 minutes." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we're like wrapping up, and we're exhausted at this point. It's like 2, and then he goes up, "Do you have another hour and a half?" And we're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, 1788L couldn't make it." He must have forgot. I guess he said he forgot to play. He forgot he was playing that day. Something happened.
Some miscom.
Anyway, so David allowed us to play another hour and a half at the Good Life stage. We ended at like 4:30. Everyone was so sloppy at the end.
We were sloppy.
It's like day one, and you're like done.
This sake bottle is completely gone. We're gonna take a crowd shot. Cool. Hogan gets a good night's sleep.
And thanks to David for allowing us to play during his set.
Shout out David.
We missed him. We were like, oh man, because I love David. He's a great guy.
Yeah, so he's here. Taboo's here now. Mitchell.
Nice.
And then Space Wizard's here, and Tati Red Drum's here, and there's just a lot of people here.
It's a mass exodus.
Closey, I have Maddie O'Neill coming on in 2 weeks. She's
nice. Love her.
Yeah.
She's great.
She just played Lala. It's huge.
Yeah. Big stuff.
It's going to be a big place. It already is a big place.
This is going to be a newer LA, or like whatever you want to call it. Like, you know.
We just can't ruin it.
Just
keep certain people out.
It's the cowboy LA.
Yeah. It has like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've just known some people have moved to LA thinking it's gonna like help, and then they realize like, wow, like I have to
do
get
you
like a full-time
have millions
job.
of dollars to insulate yourself from
Are
the
you
bullshit?
ready to pay? Are you ready to pay $25 for a jar of peanut butter? Is that like what we're ready for? Oh my god.
Man.
Okay, so what's coming up? What's in the pipeline? What are you guys working on that you're excited to share?
I mean, I'd say that we have we have a song coming out with like a really good friend of ours that is in an amazing band and it's one of these songs that it's like really going to show like our range and how like of musicality and how it's just like not just strictly EDM here, but it does have like EDM like production value.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then
we're playing Hulaween, which we're really excited about.
That's fun.
Well,
that's a dream.
if you didn't know this, we've played every Hulaween since the first.
Really?
Yeah. We've been really tight with. It was initially Paul of mine, who is like sort of the liaison and promoter between the Suwannee Music Park itself and the actual festival, like directors like Michael Berg.
Okay, yeah.
So he really put us on in a big way. And like one of our first MZG shows we played was it was a pre-party, right?
That's awesome.
At Hulaween. So we're really excited about that. Our next like upcoming one outside of Hulaween is going to be
Big Fam.
Oh, that's fun. Where's that at?
It's in Michigan.
West?
I think Grand Rapids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If I'm not
That has a
mistaken.
good lineup. That has a fun lineup.
Major lineup.
Yeah.
Similar to Big Dub. Big Dub had some
Big Dub always has
some
killers.
hitters, dude.
Yeah.
We looked at the past lineups. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. They're definitely. I think some, thankfully, smaller event companies are starting to fully recover from COVID. So I think
And then we also have we're playing Red Rocks with Big Gigantic.
Yes, that's for Rowdytown.
That's gonna be awesome. So
Yeah,
we're
it's
looking very forward to
A
that.
lot of fun time.
Gonna try to do some after parties.
Yes. When is
And
that?
then,
September?
24th and 23rd.
There's definitely some
Sweet
shows
cover
in the works that we cannot talk about.
Can't talk about, but they're
insanely
major.
exciting.
They're
Exciting.
they're insane.
So-
they're like insane.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then we also have like we were saying, like with our multi-genre aspect and like how we like to have like little like projects that to like kind of like make a moniker within the moniker.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be releasing some like we were in the car, like we're like trying to come up with like what we are going to call it, like what the genre would be of like what we're calling it. It's bassy discotheque house. Bassy discotheque house. So like
I'm excited to hear this.
so we have this like fun thing where we like trying to play like like play around with the fact that there's two of us and like genres of music. So we're having this art project that we're going to be presenting called Duplex.
Ooh.
And it's house music, two of us, duplex.
You get it.
You
I get it. That's honestly really cool.
Yeah.
I always try and ask people, where they got their name from, how they got their name. It's definitely one of the best stories I've heard. And it makes a lot of sense. It's honestly a really good story to tell. Most people are just like, yeah, I like dinosaurs. Yeah, I like this. Like,
I'm
it's just,
Diplo because I like Diplo. Sorry.
I like to, yeah.
I feel you. Yeah. So like the fact that like we're like having another art project within like we're doing what we've been like thinking about doing and implementing it, and it feels right, and we're making artwork for it, and it's just like we're doing what we've like really wanted to do by like having like MZG be this like the network, and then we can just do like fun little projects that are like they can like it's an identification, but it's underneath this like umbrella of like our musicality and our artistry. So like it feels different and it feels fun, and like we're really excited to like kind of just push these like newer art projects that like deviate but also still stay within what we have going on.
Umbrella.
Yeah.
I love that. People need to do more of that. I think a lot of artists always get kind of scared to just kind of like go.
I really admire Sudden Death and how he does like Void. And like he has like a whole other thing within the thing, and like
Smokeland does a down tempo,
liquid smoke,
liquid smoke. Yep. I think it's okay.
It's fun. It's fun to do.
And you don't have to make a new Instagram account.
No.
Yeah, like just
you don't need to expand the bandwidth as much as you just like.
Yeah.
It's fine within your own project.
Yeah. 100%. Well, guys, thank you very much for coming on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Zach, Charles.
Thank you so much.
This is MZG. I'm super stoked to see the future of the project, get to know a little bit more about you guys, and see you guys next time.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.